Hey there, I'm Ken. This is Canadian Retro Things. Welcome. Today I am going to do a little proof of concept programming. What exactly do I mean by proof of concept programming? Well, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I did a video about this, the electronic book, and how I'd never actually used it or really heard of it when I was younger because basically it's all educational software that was made for this. A couple people attempted to make some games that would be compatible with it, but there wasn't much out there. And I thought that this would have been the perfect vessel for doing some sort of an adventure game. And yeah, so I decided why not try starting to do something like that. So I'm going to put together all of my extended basic programming knowledge and see if I can get a few things to work on this. Like, for instance, reading the joystick port to see which key I pressed, and then making the computer do something with that key press. So yeah, that is my goal for today. And if that works out, this could be the beginning of a journey into making some sort of an adventure game. And the reason that I'm doing this is because if you watch the Coco Nation, you know that right now, Rick Euland of Computer Connect, I'll put a link to his website down in the description, is currently working on a modern version of the electronic book. It's going to be a little more compact and, well, modern, so it won't be old electronics like these ones are. So hopefully that will spur some people to start making some games for this thing. And yeah, I want to see if I actually have the ability and everything else to maybe make a little bit of a dungeon crawler. So, before I get started on trying to see if I have any programming skill whatsoever, I have to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. PCBWay, where you can have PCBs printed starting at only $5 for 10 boards. PCBWay has been supporting my channel for 3 years now. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you for supporting mine and so many other small channels on YouTube. So, if you're looking for high quality, inexpensive prototyping solutions for your project, it is just one click away. You can check out PCBWay for fast, reliable service by visiting www.pcbway.com and prototype the easy way. The first thing I'm going to be doing is reading the joystick port so I know exactly what's happening when I hit the buttons in the electronic book. Now, you may remember that there was a list of what should come up in the article that I referenced in the first video I did about the electronic book. That's this article right here with this list. Now, I do want to do it myself so that I can see exactly what this is doing now, because of course that was with a brand new computer and a brand new book. And since I'm not reinventing the wheel, then I am going to be using the little program out of the Getting Started with Color Basic. So I'm actually not going to use the whole program. I'm only going to use the joystick 0 and 1 readings because, as you can see, 0 and 1 by this diagram reads the X and Y axis of the right joystick, and I've got my electronic book plugged into the right joystick port. And here we are with said program. All I have to do is run this, and we can see that I'm getting values when I push the buttons. So I will write all of these down. So an interesting thing while I was writing down the numbers, some of these were coming up slightly different each time. They're kind of jittering back and forth. They don't seem to be, it's only doing it intermittently. But that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do this myself because we've got 40-plus-year-old book with a 40-plus-year-old computer. There might be a little bit of drifting in the way that it's reading things. Seems pretty stable again right now, but at one point it was kind of jittering back and forth between, I think it was number 9 here, was jittering back and forth between 42 and 43, and 12 was jittering back and forth between 32 and 33. So that was kind of one thing that I was worried about and why I wanted to actually read these myself. So let's see how those numbers compare. And here are the two tables side by side, the one that I just made and the one from Rainbow November 1985. As you can see, most of the numbers are fairly close until you get basically to the bottom row of the book, 10, 11, and 12. They're fairly vastly different. And that's one of the reasons I definitely wanted to do this. And one of the reasons that when I make a program to read this, I'm going to give it more of a range of like 6 or 7 numbers so that it can be out by quite a bit and still read the book. So I guess let's make a little program that will read the button presses of this book. All right, I've got here the chart of the keys that I read on the side here, and I've got the color computer on the other side, and I've made up a little program, so let's take a look at that and see exactly how I'm doing this. Now, this may not be the most elegant way of doing it, it's just the way I came up with off the top of my head. So it prints out at the top of the screen, press key on the electronic book, then it's reading the joystick, right joystick, X and Y axis, that's lines 40 and 50. Now line 60 is the start of a bunch of if-then statements. So if A is greater than 60 and B equals 0, now if you look over on my chart there, I read 63 as the joystick 0 and 0 is joystick 1. So that's when I push the 1 key. So the range is 61 and up, basically. If it reads that, then it'll know that you press the 1, and it's setting C to 1, then it's saying go to 300. And then the range for pressing the 2 key is 49 to 56 on joystick 0. So that's 52, we're kind of right in the middle there. And then it's setting C to 2, and then it continues on like that. So I just go through and I make an if-then statement for each and every one of them. So there we're up to 10 there. So line 50 is reading if I pressed key 10. And then 170, finally it reads to see if I press key 12. And if none of those are fit, so basically if you don't push a key and it's still 0, 0, or any of the numbers are out of the range, then it's just going to go back to the start and read the joystick again. So then once the program jumps to line 300 here, it prints on the screen, you pressed, and then it just reads what C is set to, because each one of those lines set C to 1 through 12. So if I push the 1 key, then it's going to print 1 after you pressed. So if C equals 1, then you print, then it prints you pressed 1. And then once it goes through all the C values, it returns the value of C to 0, and then it goes back to read the joystick again. So let's try running that. So as long as I'm not pushing a key on the book, it's not doing anything. Now if I hit the 5 key, oh, and you can see a problem there that it's reading very quickly. All right, let's add a little bit to this program to try and get rid of that reading as quickly as it is. All right, so there, all that I did is after I've reset C to 0, then I've just put in a little bit of a pause there quick 1 to 200 count. So that's about a, I don't know, what is that, about a second to 2 second pause. So now let's see what that does. There you go. See, you can push the keys down, it doesn't. There, you can see how quickly it's. So you've got lots of time to take your finger off. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Oh, come on, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. They all work. Perfect. So now, I guess the next thing to do is try and make a little graphic that I can move around the screen. All right, I've just made a few changes to that original program there that I did about reading the electronic book here. So let's take a look at what I did. So first off, rather than just clearing the screen, I cleared it to a black screen. And then I created a position on the screen, 12, and wrote character string 159 to it, F being the character area, or the character block that I'm printing there. And then it's reading the joystick, same as before. So it's going through and doing the same thing of reading it and then jumping to line 300 if it reads a value that is within the parameter. Now the difference at 300 is that now I've set another character to the position F, which is my character. So F standing for fighter, because obviously I'm making thinking of making like a dungeon crawler type game, and P being the placeholder. Now I've set keys 2, 4, 6, and 8 to be the arrow keys. So obviously 2 being up, 4 going to the left, 6 going to the right, and 8 going down. So it's just jumping the F key, or the F position, to either 32 up, 32 spaces up, which would be 1 line up, back 1 space, forward 1 space, or 32 spaces down, which would be 1 line down. And then there's a section there that if F is greater than 511 or less than 0, means that you're going off the top or the bottom of the screen. So then it's just returning the value of F to the placeholder and getting rid of the addition or subtraction that was done to it. And then it is printing a new position for F with your block 159, and then printing a blank block on the previous position to erase it. And then it's doing the same thing where it sets C back to 0, little pause, and then goes back to read the joystick again. So let's see what that does. So there's our little character. We're moving down, we're moving up, we're at the top of the screen, and it won't move up anymore. Now what happens if we move all the way over to the side? Okay, we should be just about at the side of the screen, and there. It just wraps around to the next line. I haven't created anything to make it stop at the edge of the screen, but it won't go off the top or the bottom of the screen and create an error. So there. Now we can't also go back from the top corner position. We can only go forward or down. So there we go, moving around with the electronic book. So now let's see if we can make this a little bit more interesting. Well, since everything that I've done so far on this seems to have been going rather surprisingly smoothly, I've decided I was going to expand even a little bit more than I had intended here, and made this a little bit more adventure-esque type of thing here. So I've added a few more things to this program. So, as you can see, I'm still clearing it to a black screen, and I've made a bunch of variables. So, F is the position of your fighter, M is the position of the monster, Fs is the fighter's strength, so that's a random number from 0 to 9, and then you add 2 to it. And then the monster's strength is ms, which is a random number from 0 to 7, and then you add 1 to that, so it's 1 to 8. So the fighter will have a strength of 2 to 11, and the monster will have a strength of 1 to 8. J equals 1. Now J is just the placeholder for where to jump to in the program, depending on which screen I want. And FC and MC are just the character string numbers of the fighter and the monster, because I was just getting sick of having to change them if the colors didn't look very good going up against each other. So 159 is the square that represents the fighter, and 239 is the square that represents the monster. And then it starts off by printing both the fighter and the monster on the screen in their positions, and then reads the joystick. Same thing happens, that 60 through, I believe it's 180, is just reading the book and jumping back to 40 if it doesn't read any key press. So then once it reads a key press, it jumps down to 300. Now if 300, if J equals 2, then it goes to a different screen. So I'll explain that in a little bit. Otherwise it just continues on doing the same thing, putting the fighter's current position into a placeholder, and then moving it either up a line, down a line, back one space, or forward one space. So yeah, keeps it from going off the screen in line 360. And then 362 is a line that if F equals M, then you go to 600. So that means that if your fighter's position equals the monster's position, which means you guys are on top of each other, it then jumps forward to line 600. Otherwise, it moves your character, printing the block of the fighter in the next space, and then erasing the space it was in. So when it jumps to 600, now it's setting that J to 2. So if you remember back from line 300, it's seeing that if J equals 2, then it's going to 644. So 600 is the initial changing over of the screen. So then that's how it happens. So if this is the first time that it jumps forward when you're into the fighting screen. So then it clears the screen to a green screen, prints prepare to prepare. Now 5 will allow you to attack, or 11 will allow you to run. So 5 or 11. So now we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 11 being assigned keys. And then it prints out the fighter strength and the monster's strength. And then, so that's, yeah. So it's printing out the strength in line 630. It's printing the strength of the fighter and the strength of the monster just after where fighter and monster are written. And then it's going back to find your key press, whether you're going to push 5 or 11. And then 644 is now where it's jumping to if you've pressed 5 or 11. And then so it'll go to either to 650 or to 1000. So 11 is run and 650 is attack. So in line 650 there, it's creating a random number of 0 to 9 plus the fighter's strength and a random number of 0 to 9 plus the monster's strength. And if the fighter rolls higher than the monster, then the fighter hits, and the monster loses 2 strength points. If the fighter's is less than the monster's, then the monster hits you, and the fighter loses 2 strength points. If they're equal, then it's a block. And line 700 is changing the strength that's written on the screen. And then it gives a little bit of a pause, so you have time to read everything. And then if the monster's strength is less than 0, then it goes to 810. And if the fighter's strength is less than 0 or equal to 0, then it goes to 900. So at 800, you've defeated the monster. It pauses. Then it clears the screen back to black and prints the character back onto the screen, and then goes back for you to move around the empty screen now. And 900 is that you're dead and the program's over. And then there's a little bit after that of, oh, that's if you run. So if you go to 1,000, that's if you run. And if you run, then it just prints you onto a random place on the screen, and you can go back and fight the monster again. So let's look at that program. So here we are. Here the dot at the top, and the light blue one is the monster. So move over. Right next to him, and then if I go on top of him, it's now time to fight, and now I have a strength of 7. The monster has a strength of 4. I will attack, and he hit me. So I've now got 5, he's got 4. Now he's got 2, and I've got 5. And I've defeated the monster. Okay, let's run that again and show you what happens if you run away from the fight. Should have put the monster closer. Actually, when I originally did this, I had the monster right at the bottom of the screen, so. Here we go. So he's got a strength of 4, and I've got a strength of, I've got a strength of 4, he's got a strength of 8. He'll be very tough to beat, so let's try running. Oh. I found a mistake in the program. Let me go back and try to fix that. It's all of a sudden the monster disappeared. I don't know what happened. I randomly ran away, but then the monster's not there anymore. So easy peasy fix. I found what I did wrong here. As you can see, when I redraw the black screen, I'm only printing the fighter character. So we've just got to add a line, add a line in there of print at M, comma, character string MC. Now let's run it. See, the monster would have still been there. He would have just been invisible. Oh, and again, he's stronger than I am, so let's run. There we go. Now, unfortunately, I'm the same strength if I go back and fight him again. And he hit me, and I'm dead. So there you go. You know what? I just thought of another thing that I didn't do on here that is going to cause some problems. And you know what that is? I will show you. So here we are at the point in the program where if the monster has less than 0 or less than or equal to 0 strength, then it's dead. So that's when we go to 810. and it tells me I defeated the monster, and it reprints the screen. One of the problems is that that monster will still be on the screen invisible. That means that I have to create another line in here of, I don't know, we'll just say 817. M will now equal -1. There we go. Now there's no way that I can accidentally walk over to the over top of the monster, because as you can see, originally M is at 125, and even when the monster is dead, there'll still be a placeholder of the monster being at 125, so if I walked over that space again, it would automatically go into the screen and then see that the monster had 0 hit points and say that I killed him again. So now that when I do kill him, I make him equal -1, so that's a -1 on the screen, which means he's off the screen, which means I cannot accidentally walk over him again. Well, that worked out a lot better than I was expecting to. I'm so stoked that I actually managed to get the computer reading the joystick port properly, and yeah, doing something when I push the buttons on the electronic book. And I even actually managed to go a little further than I had intended to. I got it making 2 different screens there. I've got the basically the dungeon screen and basic fighting screen. So obviously those are very basic. There's going to have to be a lot more work put into those before they can be really called a game. Right now they are a proof of concept, which really does make me excited, and so happy that that all worked out for me. So I'm going to continue to try and build on this program to make it more into a adventure style game. So yeah, I do have to say thank you to all of my patrons whose names are going by on the screen right now. If you're interested in becoming a patron, then you can check out the link in the description. And yeah, also I do have to say thank you to all the people that are watching the video, liking it, subscribing to the channel, and commenting on these videos, because all of that is what keeps this channel going. So thanks a lot, and I will see you next time.